Hey guys, WoT Goldspamming here today, and I'm going to state my input on a topic that's been expanded in controversy over the entire premise and development of World of Tanks. A topic that with time and content in the game only becomes more prominent, and that is the gold spamming controversy. From day one of World of Tanks console at least, this has been prominent, and continues to rise in discussions all over forums and other World of Tanks media pages from time to time. Now in a tank like the Type 5 Heavy, for example, deflecting regular rounds is a specialty. This tank can do so without losing a breath. But what it struggles with is gold rounds that pierce right through the front of the flat plating of the large tank, and once gold's being loaded in the enemies, this fearsome boar becomes a harmless pig. Nothing but a juicy, large target for 1, artillery to barrage, and 2, gold rounds to land anywhere upon its armor and penetrate with ease. However, let's take a look at both sides of the argument. Now, I'm not defending gold spamming in this video, nor am I pronouncing it. I'm trying to emphasize the difference between gold usage and straight gold spamming. Gold usage is using gold in situations where penetrating and killing a certain tank or target is absolutely necessary, and the low penetration or perhaps angle of the tank you're shooting it at isn't going to cut it, and firing a few gold rounds to eliminate that dangerous tank is vital for victory and success. For example, me playing as a Type 5 Heavy, fighting a Mouse and E100, I'll probably need gold in order to fight effectively. Against the T57 Heavy, however, gold is not of necessity or usage, as I can reliably hit and penetrate his tank in most areas on the front. Take a look at it this way. If a Mouse and a Type 5 are the last two tanks standing, there's absolutely nothing the two can do to each other without gold rounds. Therefore, I believe the usage, quote me on this, usage of gold is perfectly understandable. Understandable. Not justified, but understandable. Not completely acceptable, but definitely understandable. Gold spamming is 1, loading more gold than other standard rounds, 2, firing gold in unnecessary situations. For example, completely draining the hit points of an AMX-30B with gold rounds from almost any tank is a complete waste of credits and time. Any tank at tier 8 and up can penetrate an AMX-30B without problem, and firing gold not only to strike it but kill it is a sad sight to see and a sad thing to know. Taking a look at the armor side of the argument, gold spamming seems almost criminal. Here are tanks that rely on armor to survive and strive in a battle, and gold spamming and gold rounds negate that aspect entirely. A hold down IS-7 should feel completely comfortable in a standoff against a Jagdpanzer and Stritzbahn, right? It is a heavy tank after all. Armor should count for more in WoT than getting a couple bounces, then getting smacked by gold rounds, and even artillery fire. Taking a look at any WoT replays channel, there are always those monster damage games, and almost never any damage block games. Sure, these games might not entirely involve the usage of gold rounds, damage of artillery, or maybe it's just that block damage games are boring. But there are replays where you take a look at them, and you look at the player's loadout. Their primary round is gold, or there's more than gold than standard, or even both. Now jump back to the Jagdpanzer and IS-7 standoff. The Jagdpanzer, while it would have a chance of penetrating the turret, would rarely be able to go through it, and the IS-7, while it has a beastly gun, it does a lot of alpha for a heavy, would have little chance penetrating anywhere on the Jagdpanzer except for maybe the lower plate and the rather small cupola. In this scenario, I feel it is understandable for either or both tanks to load gold rounds in order to penetrate and kill each other. While it would be irritating to the player receiving the penetrating hit, it would be understandable from the point of view of the other player, seeing the yellow reticle go to orange. Gold rounds, like artillery, are meant to make breakthroughs, and be used on special occasions to take out those nasty heavies or well-positioned armored tank destroyers. They are to be taken as a luxury, not to be loaded as a majority. Now, why this continues to become worse is because we get tanks with more armor. Then gold rounds get more penetration. The more armor is buffed, the more penetration is buffed. It's an eternal struggle that will never truly end. So, is there anything we as players can do to avoid or prevent gold spam? Well, unfortunately, there's not much. And relying on good armor is asking to get gold spammed. But for me personally, there's one thing I do to avoid the frustration of getting gold spammed. And that is, I don't rely on my armor. Meaning I play tanks that have little to no armor. So a bounce isn't expected, but it's welcome. And getting penetrated is no big deal because it would have happened anyway. This, in my opinion, is the best way to deal with gold spam. Because playing in tanks like a Leopard 1, you expect even high explosive rounds to go through you, and taking a hit is taking a hit. But with tanks like the Leopard 1, you can avoid rounds altogether, whether they be gold or standard. Staying hidden and staying mobile is the Leopard's best defense, not armor. And while a fast tank can be prevented by shooting tracks or leading a shot, and while a stealthy tank can be fought by flanking and getting in close, tanks that have these two features going for them are far better off than a lumbering slow heavy tank. Once a heavy loses its armor value, there's very little else it has going for it. Well, generally. There are of course exceptions like the auto-loading heavies, the 50B and the IS-7 that are exceptionally fast, but once a heavy tank is negated by gold rounds, relying on the armor is asking to die. And furthermore, playing that heavy tank or heavily armored tank is going to be frustrating. So, without further ado, the stealth and speedy tank itself, the Leopard 1. Today we are playing on Airfield in the Sandstorm on the Encounter variant. So, we both spawned more south. Our team spawned southeast in this instance, theirs southwest. And the objective, obviously, is to take the base. Now, you don't have to focus on taking the base, obviously, and can do stuff like this. This is where the Leopard 1 and its stealth and speedy traits come in very handy, where you can get to contestable positions very quickly and remain hidden for amounts of time until you're ready to fire or ready to make a move. Now, you couldn't do this in an E100, and you probably wouldn't want to do this in an E100, because an E100 is obviously a heavy tank, and you'd want to go somewhere you can brawl. Perhaps it would be this little corridor right here, but it probably wouldn't be the position I'm using the Leopard 1 from, because you'd expose your lower plate, and if anyone knows anything about the E100, showing your lower plate in that tank is an absolute death wish, as on the front of the tank, that is your weak spot, technically. Although it can be very strong when angled, it's not completely 100% reliable, and gold rounds will have no problem penetrating your lower plate, and furthermore, the front of your turret. Now, of course, there are things you can do to negate this damage and these penetrating shots by angling and rotating your turret, but if you really and truly want to avoid any gold spam whatsoever, this isn't the way to do it. Like I said again, personally, how I not completely avoid gold spam, but kind of brush it off my shoulder, is playing tanks that don't rely on their armor. Because like this 113, I don't really need gold to go through the front of him, but if a 113 starts getting gold shot at its upper plate, there's very little it's going to be able to do to negate that damage and those penetrating shots. E75, I don't need gold to go through that. It would have been helpful, and if I did fire gold in this tank against an E75, I could probably just shoot it anywhere on the front of the tank and it would go through. Now, in tanks like an IS-7 and a Chieftain, getting pinned in the turret is really irritating. Because, for the most part, and never in my life have I penetrated an IS-7's turret, and for the most part it doesn't get penetrated. But there are those tank destroyers and those people that you run into that will have no problem just straight shooting you with a gold round. What usually happens in an IS-7 fight is that an IS-7 rolls up, possibly hull down, gets bounced off the turret, then, you know, the shells start going through the turret because people are loading gold. That's why I stopped playing the IS-7. Speaking of IS-7, we're flanking these IS-7s by going through this kind of southern center ridge. Found a Chieftain on the way, shot him in the lower plate. Don't need gold for that shot. And if he's going to turn his side to us, then I'll just fire standard rounds at him all day. That's an easy shot to penetrate. Now, I'm not advancing. I could advance and flank them, but there's that other IS-7 out there, and yeah, that's an artillery shell just wailed down and nailed our chieftain. There's also a tank destroyer, which I believe is in the northwest sector of the map, camping back by the hangars. So I don't really want to get shot by him, because at this point, I'm aware he's there, but I don't really know what tank destroyer it is. Now, I got pinned in the Leopard 1 by the IS-7, but, you know, if a shot comes near me, hits my tank, I expect it to go through. It's a Leopard 1, which, you know, doesn't frustrate me, even if that was a gold round. I don't care. I expect it to penetrate. Don't need gold for the side of the I-7. As long as I aim between the tracks or into the tracks, then it will probably go through. I think I just took a hit from that tank destroyer. We torched that I-7, put it on fire. Taking a hit from the tank destroyer, no big deal. I expected it to penetrate anyway. It's a Grill 15. Well, don't know where that shot went, but it looks like he's not going to be lasting for long. Drops off the radar, but artillery does finish him off. Now all we need to do is hunt down a light tank and hunt down artillery. No big deal. This game is going absolutely great for us. The light tank is making a push on the southeast side of the map towards our base, but it looks like our tank destroyers and artillery have him successfully pinned down. This artillery, if he has any sense, will be hiding either in the northwest sector of the map or the southwest sector of the map. Somewhere along the 1 and 2 line, I believe. However, since he's a T-92, I believe he will be more towards their spawn, so I'm going to start heading over there. Because he's slower, not his little brother M53, M55 fast, and, you know, slowness breeds laziness. He'll probably just be down here. I'm loading high explosive rounds because the T-92 is 25mm of frontal armor. That's its best, so going through that tank is absolutely no problem. No gold required for an artillery tank. If you do fire gold in an artillery tank, and you have no other gold, or no other standard rounds left, I don't blame you, but if you're just going to spam gold in an artillery tank, that's honestly kind of sad. Even if you were just spam gold in the Leopard 1, I'd, you know, look down on you. It's just a sad thing to do. You don't need to spam gold. Why are you spamming gold? So it looks like the T-92 actually isn't down here, so I think that Waffenträger up there at the northwest is going to run into him. And it looks like that's how it turns out. Now, hopefully, he'll be able to kill the T-92 in one shot, and it won't happen vice versa. And there you go. Game secured, kill secured, victory secured. And who gives a crap about gold rounds? Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching the video. I'll get some more gameplay videos out there because I know I don't do them very often, but I just wanted to toss in my opinion into this controversial topic, and I want you guys to reflect on anything I said. Feel free to critique me, agree with me. I don't care. It's your comment. It's your opinion as well. Thanks again for watching the video, guys, and I'll see you soon.